I know there are a lot of people who love these brown eggs from people like me, backyard chicken raisers or growers or whatever you want to call us. I have different colored eggs. I know that looks white, but it's actually a very light tan. We've got some green eggs here from our Americanas. I don't know how well that shows up in the camera, but it's green. Got blue eggs. And then we have canned chicken meat from chickens that we have butchered. But that's going to get me arrested. And I'm going to explain all this. But before I do, I want to go through some things. There is this mentality, and I know there is because I've given community tab polls. And what a community tab poll is, you go to my channel, you'll see different tabs at the top, like playlist and videos, and then there's community tab. And then there, I write some polls. And I'm kind of a freedom-loving person. You know, I built a tiny house, so small that they couldn't get me on code restrictions. I like raising my own food. Well, there are others who believe safety is more important. And so when you go to my polls, you'll see that a very small percentage who comes and watches my videos have a different mindset than I do. Now, I would imagine if you went to another channel that believed in safety, the numbers would be inverted. So a lot of freedom-loving people watch my channel, so they vote, and you'll see like 94% normally vote in favor of freedom, and a few percent, 6%, will vote in favor of safety. But if you went to a different channel and said, okay, I think we should have codes, and I think we only should buy foods from USDA approved sources and that kind of thing, then you'll see it reversed. You'll see that the safety people would be 94%, because obviously the country is pretty split. I'm not big into politics, but the country is pretty split whether we want safety or freedom. I feel like that the laws don't show that split. I feel like the laws really favor safety over freedom, because safety gives government control. And again, trying not to get too political, but I do believe this way of life in our country, in the United States, was for freedom. Get away from the authoritarian people. I think the United States government, if I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken, but I'm probably not too far off, is the largest employer in the world. They employ more people than anybody else. And it's all about regulations, enforcing regulations, making sure regulations are adhered to. And the other day I made a video about the EPA, and I guess people didn't get the point of what I was trying to make, but really, we have no freedom when you really think about it. Freedom of speech, not really, because they can catch us on something. Freedom to live independently, no, somebody's going to be there to tell you that you can't. I mean, I was just told the other day, I don't know what you're going to do with that piece of junk house you got, you know, my little tiny house that I built, spent $5,000 on. When people start moving into your area and they want you to tear that down, it's a piece of beep, you know what they said. And he started listing all the problems it's going to cause their neighbors. It's going to cause unsightliness. It's going to bring down their value, property value. Well, yeah, I guess so. And this is why freedom and safety just can't get along. And Benjamin Franklin said, and I'm not quoting it right, I said it in a previous video, that if you choose safety over freedom, you'll have neither. People seem to assume that the USDA provides some sort of inspection, that the food, every piece of food that comes off the line in a manufacturer, you know, food processor plant, is completely 100% safe, that they inspect all of it. And that's just not true. It's absolutely not true. I actually had one person that told me that there is a USDA person, government official, at every food manufacturer, and I don't think that's true either. But if my tax dollars are going out to employ someone at a food manufacturer, man, I just can't see that being logical. Now, I do know, and I used to work for laboratories that tested food. And the truth is, each lot of food, so you know, have lot numbers, you see it, dates and different things on the back of the packages, gets sent off to a laboratory and they're tested. Now, the manufacturer, the food processor, will do testing also, but that's your independent check, is these laboratories. And so they'll check it, And if there is something in the food that is going to make you sick, they will tell the USDA and the food processor that there's a problem with the food, and then they'll issue a recall. So you've already bought the food's already out there. You may have gotten sick from it. You're not really protected. You're just being told, hey, you're going to get sick if you eat that food. If it's already in your freezer. And we see this all the time. I remember Taco Bell years ago. The onions they used to put, those little green onions, got listeria or salmonella or something in them and made a bunch of people sick. I don't even think Taco Bell uses those onions anymore because it's just not safe enough to use. Now wait a minute, USDA said it's safe because it's right on the package. Then why is Taco Bell no longer using it? If it's safe, there must be a risk out there that they could get it again. Again, years ago, pot pies, those freezer pot pies that you can buy, the chicken had salmonella in it. What the USDA said when this salmonella outbreak happened with the pot pies is people are not cooking it according to the instructions. So they knew that there was salmonella in it, but it was everybody's fault for not cooking it correctly. They said you got to stop cooking it in the microwave because the microwave isn't cooking it properly, or whatever. They're just thawing it out. So you got to cook your meat. So if you got to cook your meat, think about this. If you have to cook your meat to kill the salmonella and the listeria and all those other things, then that means there is unsafe food being sold to you from the grocery store that is USDA approved. So how is this providing safety? It's not. So if we can still get sick and we're paying tax dollars, whether there's actual USDA inspectors in the plant or not, I don't think there is, that we're still getting sick from the food. So how does that make sense? Well, it doesn't. The USDA is just a money-sucking industry. It gets paid off by the food manufacturers to approve foods. I mean, some of the garbage that we eat in the processed foods, MSG, that is just garbage. Nobody should be eating that garbage. It is completely unhealthy for you. And all the other chemicals they put in, and just read the back of the package. If you can read those words, then it's good for you. If you can't, then it's not. But they're all USDA approved. I don't think the USDA is trying to protect my safety or my health. What the USDA does is they go into a manufacturer once every now and then, food processor, and they'll say, I need to inspect your facility. And they're checking for roaches. I mean, I know this because I worked for a company. I actually worked for a company that we were doing food products. And in order to be approved, you have to get USDA approval. And they come in and just do inspections occasionally. They will check to make sure you got enough mouse traps around and bug traps. Make sure you got them in each door. Make sure that you're wearing hair nuts and that you have clean rooms. And that's all they do, is they're just checking to make sure you comply with the requirements of the USDA. They're not checking the food itself. Now the problem was I was not a food processor, and I wasn't at the chicken plant making, cutting up chickens. We were just packaging the food. So there may be a difference between the chickens and packaging the food. But that's how we did it. There was no inspector there making sure that we did it properly. Why does the USDA have to be involved with me selling eggs if we're not worried about people getting sick? Well, the only reason would be is, well, we can't do a recall on it. So, as you know, I'm sure you've heard about this. There's this Amish guy who has been selling milk and meat and different things to a co-op, is basically what it is. It's he was selling memberships to his store, and they would come in and they'd buy his beef and his eggs and his milk, whatever it was. Well, he had been told to stop selling before, so that's why he started doing the membership. Well, actually two people got sick, and one person died from listeria poisoning from his milk, his unpasteurized milk. Well, now he's in all kinds of trouble and probably will be arrested and imprisoned with large fines because he didn't shut down his operation. Now, this is an Amish guy. When you go to an Amish guy, you know that you're buying unapproved USDA food. So I'm sure you're not surprised by the fact that they could have some things in it. I am well aware that my eggs probably have salmonella in it. I try to keep my coop clean and all that, but I'm sure they do. So I wash my hands when I handle the eggs, make sure I have sanitizer. I make sure the food is cooked thoroughly. With canning food, got to worry about botulism. So they're not going to let me sell. As a matter of fact, I used to sell eggs just to the neighbors. I told you this story before. I was shut down. They told me I couldn't sell it anymore, just to the neighbors, because they were worried it could cross state lines. Now, I didn't investigate it way back then or anything. I didn't really care, but they told me to shut it down. So I did. I do not think that if my neighbors would have gotten sick, they would have been mad at me for giving them bad eggs. Just like the person who died from the milk, from the listeria in the milk, from this Amish guy. The family does not hold any ill will to the Amish guy. They said the woman who bought the milk and drank the milk was fully aware of the potential to get sick. That being said, you can also get sick and not be aware that you can get sick by USDA approved items. As long as it's got the USDA approval on it, you can make people sick and you can kill people with your food and you're totally safe. No big deal. We'll just issue a recall. But when you are not at USDA approved, you can go to jail and have to pay fines for selling milk and eggs and meat. The USDA should allow you to be able to sell the food and simply mark it as not USDA approved. That's it, 3 words, not, and then the letters, USDA approved. Now, I don't know if the Amish guy could actually print that with a printer or whatever he's got. Maybe he could handwrite it on the packaging. I'm sure he could have made that adjustment and simply put not USDA approved. But it's not about food safety. It's about money. And for those people who are looking for safety over freedom, you're not getting either. If you were getting safety, people would not get sick when they go to the store and buy pot pies. There was no extra requirements put onto the meat. They simply told people you have to cook the food. They probably told the pot pie company, you need to make the instructions clear that the food needs to be cooked in an oven and not in a microwave, you know, something like that. But in the end, you're not safer. You can still get salmonella. Maybe you touched the pot pie when it was raw and you forgot to wash your hands and you licked your fingers. You're still going to get sick if there's salmonella in that pot pie, and there could be salmonella in that pot pie. I think there's a statistic that says that there's, like, I don't know what it is, like 1 in 10 packages of meat that you buy, chicken and turkey, that it is got contamination of some sort. So if you can click this up next box, it'll take you to that video I was talking about the EPA. So if I can inspire you to choose freedom over safety, because you're not safe when you're living your dreams. Thanks for watching.